I like a good movie as much as anybody, but what I just watched was some cheesy straight to DVD nonsense in Washington, D.C. tonight between the Clemson Tigers and the Boston College Eagles. It was Clemson's first game of the ACC tournament, their only game of the 2024 ACC tournament. And we're going to talk all about what just happened on this episode of Around the Paul. So go wipe the blood from your eyes. I did. Get cleaned up and enjoy this episode of Around the Paul.
Getting that stuff till you hearing that sound.
All right, guys. 21-point loss to Boston College in the Tigers' first game of the ACC tournament, 76-55. It was never particularly close. It was always ugly. Nothing went right. And frankly, Boston College played like the team that wanted it more. Not necessarily that they're the most talented team. Frankly, they are not. And I will never believe that they're not or that they are. But they did play like the team that wanted it more. So what in the hell went wrong tonight?
First and foremost, I said this before we started recording. Credit Earl Grant with the Boston College team. He's now 5-2 in the ACC tournament, and he has little to no talent compared to most of these other ACC schools, including Clemson. I really thought Clemson just played into the trap of Boston College's game. Obviously, they came up early, used Quentin Post early, and it was a little bit weird for Clemson because Clemson didn't play Quentin Post when Clemson and BC played each other at Littlejohn earlier in January. BC only had 6 guys. There was a stomach bug going through the team. There was a couple players injured, and BC only lost by 11. And with 6 players, with your star guy not playing, I really credited them in January as well. So credit him. But I really thought that Clemson just fell into their style of play. They went down early. I really thought that this team was going to come back when Post had 2 fouls. A lack of a big man. I thought PJ was going to feast, and this team just fell short. I really don't know. I think the biggest thing as well for me was just the lack of hustle. There was just BC wanted every 50-50 ball, every offensive rebound, every turnover, every loose ball. They just seemed like they wanted it more. The only guy that I thought was showing the same amount of emotion was PJ Hall, and rightfully so. He's kind of been the star man, the leader, the captain of the team. So for me, I just think they fell into BC's trap early. They went down early, and at that point, you have to start shooting those emergency shots and making those passes that you're going to potentially turn the ball over a little bit more than in a steady game where it could be a 1-possession, 2-possession game. I really think that's all she wrote. But I really think you have to credit Boston College. They came in this game on a 3-game winning streak, smoked Miami last night in the first round. This is a team that I think they could beat Virginia tomorrow. I really think that they deserve their flowers, and I think Clemson will be back.
All I'm going to do is breathe.
It's
because
okay,
Clemson
okay.
showed no – to me, Clemson showed no heart.
Like, session. We're here for you.
Clemson had no heart. They played like crap. They didn't shoot the ball well. They didn't rebound. And when Quentin Post went out, PJ Hall didn't go to the block. Like, I don't understand that. Like, What the hell? Like, go to the block. Stay on the block while that guy's out of the ball game. That's when we should have caught up. And we should have. Because they're terrible inside. Like, they are. And PJ Hall is the best big man on that floor when Quentin Post is not in. And he should have been on that block at all times while that guy was out for 13 minutes or whenever he went out.
Well, and what baffles me too, and to me, it's just inconceivable that PJ Hall had uno, rebounds in this ball game. That came on an offensive rebound on a long shot off the back of the rim with less than 4 minutes to go in the ball game. You are not going to win many ball games against Boston College or a group of schoolgirls playing tiddlywinks if your best big man has one rebound.
I also think that it's important to note that the person that led Clemson in rebounds was the smallest guy in the court. Joe Girard led the team in rebounds. He had 7. The team got out-rebounded by 16.
Wow.
You are not going to win games. 13-8 on the offensive board. But then again, I really think that this team, especially with coming into the season, you had the 4th year and the 5th years, guys like PJ Hall, Chase Hunter, you're bringing in Joe Girard, bringing in guys like Jack Clark. And then when you're going down in these games, where is that leadership? The only guy, like I said, that showed that leadership was PJ Hall, especially in that second half, and Joe Girard towards the end of that first half hitting back-to-back threes right before the buzzer. Chase Hunter, 2 points. Both those points were by free throws. He was 0 for 10 from the field. Shefflin was 2 for 7. He's not really their points guy. I was really concerned about Chase, especially. I thought Jack Clark, did what he had to do, but when you're that far down in the game, defense guarding the top guy really isn't that much of the issue. It's more of the offensive side, which Clemson kind of come out early in a lot of these games and really control it the rest of the way. But I think this is really the first time we saw the team go down early, and they kind of just gave up, in my honest opinion. They, especially when Post went out, I thought that was the chance for them to go on that run, and they did. They cut the lead to 1, and then Boston College took another run on their own. I forget how much the run was, but they went into half leading by 12. I really think
it was 14-1.
Yeah,
14-1 run. 14-1 run.
Yeah.
And I really think that.
Why the heck? Go ahead.
I'm just talking in circles, but I'm just very concerned by the lack of leadership by this team with a squad that is full of juniors, seniors, and 5th-year seniors, and no one really took that initiative until PJ did, especially with the amount that you have. It's not just one guy. It's 4 or 5. I think offensively he did. Towards the post, he kept the team in the game. He took majority of the ball in the post. I think the only thing that he didn't do well was defensive rebounding and shooting the 3. He was 1 for 4 from 3.
Well,
rebounding is the most important thing, but I think Shefflin should have done a better job on the boards.
Yeah, he was no-show on the rebounds.
Shefflin 6.
Yeah, well, to me, for me, Shefflin should have about 15 rebounds. Like, that's what I expect from him. And who cares how many points he has? 10 points, whatever. He should have 15 rebounds. Like, that's what I expect. That's the standard he has set this year for me. Like, that's what I expect, is at least 12 to 15 rebounds. And nobody showed up except PJ Hall in the second half. And it really is like heart. To me, it comes down to heart. And to me, they look like Miami of last night. They look like they quit. And what are they going to do in the NCAA tournament? Like, I almost don't care if they go to the NCAA tournament. That's how I feel right now. Like, we're going to get murdered in the NCAA tournament. Okay, we get more rest. So what? We needed to have one nice win in the ACC tournament. But I don't know, man.
Well, look,
I'm running off emotion right now.
The fact of the matter is, and they said it on the broadcast tonight, Clemson's going to the ACC tournament regardless of what happened in this game tonight. They've got 5 quad 1 wins. It's the second most in the ACC behind North Carolina with 6. They're going to the NCAA tournament. Cliff, I'm actually inclined to agree with you that the way things are trending, whoever they draw in the first round, it's going to get very ugly very quickly. But you bring up Miami. Yeah, sure. Boston College beat the absolute tar out of Miami last night. Good for them. Give them a cookie and a pat on the back. Miami quit. They didn't just
I
quit
think
last
we
night.
quit.
They quit weeks ago. Miami,
Yeah.
how many games has Miami lost in a row? 10?
Miami lost
10.
10 straight. Miami
10.
lost 10 straight going into that game.
Right, exactly. Miami quit a long time ago. They were in absolutely no position or had any inclination to put up a fight. This Clemson team is still playing for a whole hell of a lot. There's a lot left on the table for them. They are not in a position where they can afford to show up and lay down. And that's exactly, to my eyes, and what I watched for 2 hours tonight, they laid down. They didn't put up a fight. That is inexcusable in a game against Boston College. I'll give them credit. Boston College played hard. Boston College is healthier than they were the first time Clemson played them. They still have a quarter of the talent. Tonight, what I watched was a travesty.
Here's what I will say though, and it is lucky that this team is a lock, and I really think that helps out with how the state of the game went. If this was last year, no one would consider Clemson to be an NCAA tournament team. I will say though, think about last year, the way that Clemson smoked NC State in the ACC tournament, won by 20, 30 plus. NC State made the tournament, had to play a tough Creighton team, kept it toe-to-toe, and I think that they were like, it was a one-possession game until like the 2-minute mark, and then Creighton hit their foul shots, moved away. It's your wake-up call. That's okay. It doesn't matter. The ACC tournament does not matter as much as the NCAA tournament, in my honest opinion, in terms of viewing your school. There's your chance. You have at least a week off to prepare. You know what the pace of the game is going to be like. You know how hungry teams are going to be. Most likely, in my honest opinion, I see this team being a 7 or 8 seed. You're going to have a team that wants to upset you. Now you know how it feels. And I think this team will bounce back. I think you're going to see that heart of the older guys saying, hey, this is potentially our last game. If you're PJ Hall, this might be my last game. Joe Girard, 5-year career. That might be my last game. Jack Clark, Chase Hunter, the list goes on with the amount of experience that's on this team. And I really think you're going to see that in terms of how heart goes. So for me, I think the ACC tournament was taken a little bit lighter than it was last season because of how the whole bubble racked up and where Clemson stood. We know that Clemson's going to be an NCAA tournament team. At least I think 98% sure that on Sunday this team will be called as a top 7 or 8 seed in the tourney. It's just a matter of who they play and how they respond. And based off how they've responded in the past, look at the Virginia game. They lost by 1. Game later, they went into Chapel Hill and they beat UNC. The loss against NC State, they lost by 1 point. They missed that game-winning shot. You went on a 3-game winning streak afterwards. Yes, they haven't responded as of late, but we know this team can respond. And especially with the fact that these guys might be playing their last game in a Clemson jersey with absolutely no cushion that there may be a next game, I think this team will bounce back and you will see this team compete against a high-quality team, and the team has the talent. The team has the talent. You have an all-ACC first-team guy in PJ Hall, the most improved player in Ian Shefflin, 2 honorable mentions in Shefflin and Girard. I think you're completely fine. It's just a matter of the cushion that you had. I think this team was not playing for as much as they were compared to last year when they smoked a team by 20, 30 points and thought that they were good to make the NCAA tournament. You're a lock now, so I think you're completely fine, and you'll see those adjustments coming next week.
Yeah, Griffin, I think it's a good point that you make. And certainly I hope that this does light a fire under their backsides. I hope it does wake them up. I don't know if they sleptwalked their way into the arena tonight. It sure looked like it. But I hope this does wake them up. And, you know, frankly, if it doesn't, we can sit here a week or 2 from now and say, well, they didn't deserve to be there anyway. I personally think they do. And that, to me, is the most disheartening thing about what I watched tonight. This is a team, you made a good point as well on this. It's a team of 3rd, 4th, 5th year guys. It's a veteran team, guys who have been there, not just this year, not through battles for 1 or 2 years. They've been there for a very long time. And to me, it just seemed like a juvenile showing tonight that had absolutely no basis or excuse behind it. A team this old and this experienced should know better than to show up and take anybody lightly or put forth such a horrendous lack of effort. And to me, that's what's concerning. The talent's not concerning. It's the utter apathy toward the game tonight. And it was an apathetic effort.
It was the execution. I completely agree. And whether or not you want to credit Brad Brownell for that or you want to credit the players for that, I think it's a little bit of both. I think now a lot of people think like Brad Brownell might be on the hot seat just because of how the team performed. I think next game's just as important. What are you going to do to respond? What are you going to do to get this team out firing and get this team out to an early lead? That's what this team thrives with doing. When they go out onto an early lead, they never lose it. It's just a matter of getting in those tight dogfights that you see those one possession losses, the 1 point losses, the 2 point losses, the Duke games, the Virginias, the NC States of the world. I think, again, I'm just going to stress that this team's fine, but the last time this team made the tournament was in 2021. PJ Hall was a freshman. He did not play as much as the all ACC first team guy did. The only guy with, NCAA tournament experience is Jack Clark, who played in that Creighton game with NC State last year. He had 10 rebounds. And Joe Girard, who played, I believe, 2 years back. That's about it. So these guys got to be hungry for it. It's their only time making the big dance, especially if you are a very experienced guy. For Ian Shefflin, you might not be back next year. This might be your only shot of making a deep run, making it to that second weekend, making it shocking the world, going on a little Cinderella run. So for me, I really think that this team will bounce back in terms of the urgency that they have in making that deep run because, hey, you're not going to have that next year. You're not going to have maybe 2-3 guys from this starting 5. That's the whole problem here. And I think that Clemson are going to be okay. They're going to understand that, knowing that if we lose this game, we're done. Our Clemson careers are done. We are never playing a game in a Clemson uniform again. And I think that's going to show next week.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just going to tell you why I'm pissed. And the reason I'm pissed is because at this point, I would rather win the ACC tournament than go to the NCAA tournament. That's just me. That's just me. And the reason why is because I don't think we can make a deep run. I just don't. And I would rather win the ACC tournament right now because that ACC tournament I don't think the ACC is going to be around much longer. And we don't have and I would rather win another ACC title than go to the NCAA tournament. And that's just me. And there might be other people out there like me. There might not. But, I mean, the NCAA tournament's nice, but we're not going to win it. So why not win? I would rather win the ACC. I would rather have a title, like even the ACC title, than go to the NCAA tournament. But on what you said, Griffin, I just wanted to get that out because I wasn't able to portray that earlier. But on what you were talking about, yeah, these guys, this might be their last time going to the tournament, and it might be because this might be their last year playing. So hopefully that does give them more drive. And I totally agree with you again. We have to get out to a fast start or we're going to lose every game. If we don't get out to a fast start, we're going to lose. And because we can't win 1 or 2 possession games. We haven't proven that over the past couple of weeks. And every time we're in a close game, we lose by 1 point or we lose on the last second shot, or we go into overtime and we lose. But yeah, hopefully this gives them a little bit of push to know that this is going to be our last time, and this might be our last time in a Clemson uniform. So we need to go out there and show what we're made of. So I don't know.
And Cliff, I'll counter you with this. And again, I think I can't speak for you, but one reason why I'm just a little bit chapped about the game tonight is I know this Clemson team can play with anybody. I know that they can beat anybody. They went to Chapel Hill and beat what is now the number 4 ranked team in the country, who was probably 2-3 wins away from a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, a North Carolina team that people think could win the national championship. They played Duke to within 1 point at Cameron Indoor Arena and were the rightful winners of that game. Now, we're not going to go back down that rabbit hole again, but anybody that watched it knows what we're talking about. This is a team that can play and go toe-to-toe with absolutely anybody. Ask Alabama. Ask Oklahoma when they were undefeated 3 weeks into the season what Clemson can do. That's why, to me, it's just no excuse for the way that they played tonight. And look, I'm not going to pander to the Fire Brad Brownell crowd. I'm not going to do it. That's if people want to do that.
That's stupid talk.
Right. If people want to do that,
stupid.
they can do that. I'm not going to pander to that crowd. However, what I will say is in sports, teams are a product of their preparation. Preparation begins with coaching. And look, people have lapses. Teams have lapses. For whatever reason it happens. But tonight, it looked like this Clemson team was utterly unprepared to take the court and face Boston College. If you're a product of your preparation, then I don't know how much preparation went into this ballgame.
And, if that could be just a lack of playing, a lack of not playing a game yet, because Boston College played last night, is, beyond me. But I think I'm focused more on the coaching adjustments that Brad Brownell will do into this NCAA tournament game. If they come out flat like they did tonight, then you start pointing the fingers, then you start raising eyebrows. But I really think that this team has bounced back time and time again. But to Cliff's point, I think that this ACC tournament really favored Clemson. I thought BC was their only tough game. After that, you have Virginia, who have won 2 of their last 5. They're 2-3 in their last 5 games. There's a win there. You lost by 1. That's a favorable matchup, in my honest opinion. You would then play either Duke or NC State. Duke, you want revenge. If Clemson and Duke played each other in that ACC tournament, I could very well see Clemson winning that game. Same thing with NC State. They lost by 1 score. Yeah. Both those games. You really want those games back. And then if you make that final, you are playing North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Florida State, and Wake, and you have won 3 out of those 4 games. Wake, not the best team away from home. You had a chance to do it. And don't get me wrong, I think North Carolina is they're my favorites when they try. I think that they're going to do it. But like you said, this team can compete with the best of the best. And if they come out firing like they do in the NCAA tournament, you're looking at a team that can make the second weekend. They're a team that could shock the world, and being a 6, 7, or 8 seed, they could shock a 1, 2, or 3 seed. They did it with North Carolina in their own building. So they almost did it with Duke too in their own building. That's a 3 seed there. So it's just a matter of who they play. I think Clemson does struggle against certain teams, especially with elite guard play. But
or somebody to guard PJ.
Same thing. But I think this team will be okay. This team will come back firing. They will respond. It's a group of experienced leaders.
Yeah, I agree with that. Every time they've lost a game, they've won 3. So at least in the last couple weeks. So who knows? They could go on a 3-game winning streak. I said this coming into the tournament. I said Clemson definitely needs that double bye, because I don't think they can win 4 games in a row. I think they can win 3, but I don't think they can win 4. And I knew if they didn't get that double bye, then they were going to play one of these little low-level ACC teams that can be tough when they're trying, because the seeding that Boston College was, they got to win games to get in the tournament and to get in, and so they wanted it more, which kind of sucks, but and that's the only thing I can really say is they wanted that game more and they put more effort into it, and we didn't, and we couldn't hit shots. We were throwing up bricks and throwing up air balls and all this other stuff and not rebounding. Like, I've never seen a team out rebound us as much as they did tonight. It just felt like every time we needed to get a rebound, the ball went straight to their player. And I mean, it was sad. Like it's to me, it's a sad day to be a Clemson fan right now. At least a basketball fan. At least baseball and softball are rocking and rolling. I personally much rather talk about them, but this is all about basketball tonight, and we look like crap.
Well,
So hopefully we can respond.
Right. And Griffin brought up a good point when he said it's all about being hungry. You've got to be hungry and you've got to want it. Now, before we wrap this up tonight, speaking of being hungry, or in Cliff and I's case, hangry, that's why you need to check out our sponsor, Arden's Burger Grill, because they'll get you fixed right up. They'll take away that hangriness. They'll fill up your belly with some of their double dip wings, mouth-watering burgers, or sizzling grills, and they'll take care of you for all of your game day needs, including what we think will be the Clemson Tigers NCAA tournament game. So go check out our good friends at Arden's Burger Grill and tell them the crew from Around the Paul sent you. Now, guys, before we wrap this up tonight, a lot of good points on both sides, some emotion let out, some steam blown off, but some good points brought up too. About how this team can turn it around. They can flip the script and get to the NCAA tournament and make life difficult for whoever they end up playing. But for that to happen, what does this team have to do? Ultimately, when the rubber hits the road, what does this Clemson Tigers basketball team have to do to change the narrative that is undoubtedly going around about them right now after tonight's game?
I think you need to do what you've been doing the last time, every time you've lost the game, and that's respond, especially as of late. I think this team has done a very good job. Maybe not as of really, really late, just based off, how the season ended. But I'm just thinking about that stretch in February and late January. They lost to Virginia, and then they beat North Carolina, Syracuse, and Miami, I believe. You lose to NC State, and then you beat teams like Pittsburgh, who are an NCAA tournament team. But I really think the X factor here is going to be 3-point percentage. That's really my thing. This team shot 20% from three. BC shot 34, and I know that's a little bit different. But when BC sinks 10 threes and you shoot 4, shows a lot about how the game's supposed to end up. But NCAA tournament, in terms of that, your guards come to play. I think Chase Hunter really needs to have a better game. 2 points going 0% from the field is not going to work. It's not going to fly. But I expect a bounce back game for not only Chase, but for Joe. I think Joe has a huge game in that first round. But 3-point shooting and responding. But this team has done a very good job of responding. It's just a matter of if the shots can fall.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think Chase has got to have 12 to 15. I think, Shefflin's got to have 15 rebounds, 12 to 15 rebounds. I think PJ's got to score 20. This is just me. I think PJ's got to have a double-double. I think Shefflin might have to have a double-double. I think they got to come out and play with heart. I think, Brad does have to do a better job of preparing them, which, like you said, I think they will. Coming off a loss, they've always done well coming off a loss, except for this last part of the season. But yeah, I think Gerard's got to be red hot from 3, and can't be bricking 3-point balls. So yeah.
Yeah, and look, it all comes down to heart, effort, and want to. And we want you to hit that like and subscribe button, give us a share, and get us out there if you like what we do. We hope you've enjoyed this little bull session as we blow off a little bit of steam and get some of the pent-up emotions out. But, hey, you know what? We did that. We hope it helps you do it too. And, Griffin, as you said, it's out of the way, over, done with. Flush it, because now you've got bigger fish to fry. And I'm with both of you. I think come Selection Sunday here in a couple more days, Clemson's going to hear their name called. Won't speculate what their seed will be. Griffin, I tend to agree. They're probably somewhere between 7 and 10 would be my guess. But I do think they're in the tournament. Just put this one to bed. Put it to bed, cover it up, wrap it in the sleeping bag, throw it off a cliff if you want to. But just get refocused and get set for the NCAA tournament, because right now it's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
You have one more game. As of right now, you have one more game. That's do what you want with that. And I think that we'll find out a lot about this team.
Yeah, for sure. We'll find out if they have heart, which I think they do. So
I do too. I don't think it showed tonight, but I think it's there. And you know what? I'm going to end this by saying I'm choosing the optimistic route. I think come the NCAA tournament, I do have confidence in these guys, and I think they'll come out and play a lot better. So just do that and let the chips fall where they may. But that's going to do it for this episode of Around the Paul. Griffin, you've got an early flight to catch in the morning, headed home for family reunions. So bon voyage and safe travels. And we'll catch you on the flip side when you make it back to Clemson. But until then, this is the crew from Around the Paul: Garrett Mitchell, Griffin Barfield, and Clifton Kennedy, saying it's a great day to be a Clemson Tiger. Good luck, Godspeed, God bless. Until next time, we'll see you.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.